Have you ever been somewhere where the ground seems to remember the pain that was done there? Today we're going to look at a place like this, a place where the dead refuse to rest easy. But first, let me tell you how I found out about it. It was early last year. My subscribers asked me if I would visit New England and talk about haunted places there. Many wanted to know if I would go to Salem, Mass. It was one of the most requested topics by far. I didn't really know much about Salem's beyond what everyone knows, the Salem Witch Trials. But I thought, why not? I have family in Western Massachusetts. We could use a good vacation. While I was researching haunted places in Salem, I kept coming across this place, the old jail and courthouse on Washington Street, which is now called the Witch House. It's the only structure still standing in Salem with ties to the witch trials. People say it's haunted by the spirits of those tried and convicted there, and I knew right away that I had to go there. As my wife and I planned our trip, I checked out other places people said were haunted. The old Burying Point Cemetery, Charter Street Cemetery, the Ropes Mansion, the Hawthorne Hotel. There are all kinds of places in Salem supposedly haunted by people who died during or because of the witch trials. I figured they probably are, but I wasn't going to be able to talk to any of them. There is one place, though, where I felt the best chance of making contact with someone from that time period would be. It's called Gallows Hill. It's a small park on the edge of town, near the highway in an industrial area. Hardly a place you would expect anything to happen. Yet this is the site where 19 people were hanged during the witch trials. These were the ones accused of being witches, plus 2 people who refused to plead to charges against them. They were all put to death between June and September of 1692. 2 others died in prison while awaiting trial. One woman, Bridget Bishop, was the first person executed for witchcraft in the trials. She was hanged here on June 10th, 1692. The executions ended up being public events. Spectators from all around New England came to Salem just to watch people die. After the hangings, the bodies were buried in the prison yard. No marks were made over their graves. The soil was later used to fill in a nearby marsh. This all happened more than 300 years ago. Yet people still come to the spot to pay their respects to the 19, sometimes referred to as the Forgotten Souls of Salem. So when I went there, I thought, well, maybe this is where I'll get a breakthrough. I am going to make contact with someone from the 17th century. Bathult? Before we move on, please remember to give this video a thumbs up. If you enjoy these stories, subscribing always helps to bring more stories to more people. Thanks. A friend and I visited the Gallows Hill area. At first, it was hard to imagine that such a grim event took place here. There were kids playing baseball in the street nearby, and cars whizzing by on the highway. Still, some of the old stones from the prison wall are still around. The state has a historical marker placed where the gallows stood. We walked around, sat in the car talking about what we should do. Should we try a group meditation? That's when I saw it. An opening in the trees behind the historical marker. It looked like a path, so I got out, walked through, and found myself in a small clearing. It was just a little area where the grass hadn't been cut for a while. I stood there for a moment, and then I noticed something unusual. There seemed to be an object buried in the ground. I went closer and saw that it was a rock monolith. It was shaped kind of like a broken tooth. I ran my fingers over its surface. It was rough and uneven. I do not know if this monolith was here before the executions, or if it was put up more recently. But I felt like it was calling to me, telling me to touch it, to feel its power. In fact, I felt so connected to it that I started doing EVP work. I asked questions, but nothing came through. Then I had an idea. What if I focused on the feelings? Did I feel fear here? Did I feel sadness? I started asking questions based on emotion rather than logic. And that's when I got my answer. You may have seen some of my other videos where I ask questions like, can I get a flash? Or are there any full-bodied apparitions here? I stopped doing that after a while, because I never got a response that I thought was real. Plus, they're questions that are based on what I think ghosts can or can't do. But I figured, what the heck? I'm here. Let's just try it. So I said, does anyone here want to show themselves? Then I heard it. Flash. There was a flash of movement to my right, like the shadow of a person running. I whipped around, but there was no one there. I asked again, are there any full-bodied apparitions here? And once again, I heard it. Can't explain it. There was definitely movement behind me. BT's point, my friend, had come into the clearing. I told him what I was doing, and he joined in. We asked if anyone wanted to show themselves, and then we heard it. Again. Are there any full-bodied apparitions here? And yes, there was movement behind me again. All this was captured on my voice recorder. I was excited, but then I realized I needed to keep things in perspective. Could this be proof of ghosts? No. A lot of things could cause these sounds. The wind blowing through the trees, animals rustling in the underbrush, maybe even distant traffic. But I'll tell you what, I haven't felt this way about EVPs in a long time. If you want to listen to what I captured that day, check out my podcast. We will be releasing the episode on our Patreon account. The link will be below. When we finished recording, we left the clearing and sat in the car. I told my friend what I had experienced, and he said he felt something, too. He felt a sense of panic, like people were running for their lives. I thought, wow. This place is something else. Salem itself is a strange place. The streets are narrow and twisty and lined with shops selling crystals, herbs, tarot readings, and books about witchcraft. On one hand, I understand why people believe the town is still saturated with magic from the 17th century. But on the other hand, I've never seen so many tidy shirts in one place. Walking around, I couldn't help thinking about those who were executed here and what they must have felt as they awaited their fate. I also couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. There was a definite feeling of dread. Later, I learned that author Nathaniel Hawthorne lived in Salem and wrote stories about the witch trials. He wrote The Scarlet Letter and The House of the Seven Gables. I checked out his home, which is now a museum. As I walked through, I couldn't help but wonder if he drew inspiration from the area around Salem when he created his fictional towns. I also wondered if he sensed the same feelings I did. I left Salem in New England thinking about how powerful a place it was. I didn't see any ghosts or witches, but I did feel a connection to the past that few places can match. What about you? Have you ever been to Salem? Would you go? Let me know in the comments section. That brings us to the end of another video. Thanks for watching. Please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. This is a place where the dead refuse to rest. Easy. Next week, I'll be back with a terrifying story from the early days of the American frontier. Until then, remember, ghosts don't just walk in haunted houses. They walk among us every day.